Do you remember when you started smoking? And why?
I don't like. Do I remember my first cigarette? I don't.
Really?
It wasn't like a. I love this, right? It wasn't. It was more like I'm gonna have to get used to this.
Well, how old were you? Do you remember how old you were?
I think I was like 14.
14.
Maybe 12.
Peer pressure?
No, my parents smoked, so they were always in the fridge. I was like,
So your parents went, "Hey, kid, go have a smoke."
No, there would be an open pack somewhere, and I would sneak one out and go try it. I used to like to sit in front of the mirror and like be all cool. Put on different hats, especially my fedora hat. Like, hey, there, sugar, that whole thing.
Yeah, I took it. I started. I didn't start till I was 25.
See, contrary to popular opinion, I thought smoking was really cool. In fact,
Everybody thought it was cool back
I
then.
still do. I don't smoke anymore because I want to be good to my old self.
Well, that's an interesting
And
conversation. Why do you think it's cool?
I like to be healthy. I don't know. I just think it looks cool. When it was in movies, I always thought smoking looked cool. And you can do things with cigarettes. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I started for play. You're 25 years old. I was doing
How
summer
many
stock
years did
theater.
you do that role?
No, I quit. I mean, we both quit. But
Oh.
that role I played, really out of type, was a 1940s play. I played a gangster.
Oh.
And in the play, the gangster, the lead, was a chain smoker, and he smoked big fat, cigars, just like gangsters would do, of course.
So did you find
And I'd never smoked a cigarette, never put it to my lips ever until I was 25 years old. And our rehearsals, because it was a summer stock repertory, 2 weeks of rehearsals to get ready for this, and then a 2-week run. I'd never. So the first day of rehearsals, the director tossed me a pack of cigarettes and said, "Well, you're a smoker, so well, you're gonna." I just pretend, right? No, you're gonna smoke. Oh, okay. So I take it out, and I looked like a tiny little, 7-year-old girl.
You looked like somebody who didn't know how to smoke.
Yeah. So he yelled at me that you can't, you have to look. You've never smoked. I'm like, no, I've never smoked anything ever. No tobacco of any kind has ever passed my lips. But I'm into the method acting thing, so I'm gonna do it, right?
So you rolled yourself in paper and set your hair on fire, did you? I need to experience being a cigarette.
What it feels like to be a cigarette. No, I need to know. I need to look like. I can't just look like a smoker. I need to be a smoker. And it was a 40s play, and back then they didn't have filters. So I had a pack of Pall Malls.
Of roll your own?
No, I didn't roll my own. I had Pall Mall cigarettes. And I smoked them on stage, and I smoked them off, and I threw up twice during every rehearsal, a couple times during the day. Took me a week and a half, almost a full 2 weeks, to actually not be sick of them anymore. And then it was like, it's pretty good.
This is the longest
I
introduction
forced
we've
myself
ever done.
into a habit. Forced myself into it to get a certain thing. And I had a great play, and I got some of the best reviews I ever got. But then I had this habit. I had this thing. Literally, I smoked for 20 years after that.
Right.
It was, and one of the reason I'm bringing that up is that last week we talked about coming up with habits for success. And this habit itself, I suppose you could say that habit I created for success, but then I had this habit that I didn't give up, and always had a reason why my life was a certain way, because I was still smoking, and I wasn't I couldn't give it up because of all this stuff. But when I finally did, it was that same conversation. I was giving it up for a successful thing. Yeah. And you wanted to talk more about that this week, around that exact topic, right? Mm-hmm. How am I doing?
That was the longest story to get to. We're going to talk about habits.
It's a good story.
It's a great story.
Don't tell me it's not a good story.
Welcome to the Bill and Jason Show. No. It wasn't a boring. There was nothing negative about. No bad review of the story here. It was just like really, really long time. Well, and then you discovered the medicinal qualities of nicotine, which
was another part for me.
Which it has many. There are many medicinal coping things that nicotine does.
Well, and specifically for...
Though it's killing you in another way, it's actually helping you in another way.
Well, for the ADHD that I have. And I didn't find out later, until after I quit smoking, that... I don't know why. That looks like I'm pointing. I didn't find out until I quit smoking that was helping that. I was literally self-medicating when I'd get, freaked out or I'd get, too many things going on. A cigarette would make me go, So I had to get over that because I didn't have that mechanism anymore. I chose not to self-medicate anymore. So that's here. You're keeping me in my story. What you're doing? Still talking. I can talk about the story of me starting smoking, quitting smoking, the reasons behind it, the reason I stopped, the reason why it was good. Why I can do that all day.
The reason you think about it every day.
But I mean, the topic that was interesting to me that we were going to bring up last week, didn't have time, is the idea of creating habits to be successful.
Right.
And something
so that your success is routine.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just showing that taking one habit, one nasty habit, and I used the nasty habit to have a successful thing, but then I had a nasty habit. And then but to get out of it, I had to, like you said, now create a habit to get out of the habit.
Well, you had to give it up, and then it was like, what are you going to do with all that time that you used to spend smoking? So,
and the reason you do it, I think, helps as well.
So I have to ask you, I've got a burning question that I've been like waiting to ask you at the end of the story, which is like, because I was in a college play, and my character also smoked.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was a smoker, so I knew how to smoke, how to hold a cigarette, all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was the hardest thing in the world to act with while smoking. Was it difficult for you?
Well, because one of the things you learn as an actor is the reason why method acting is helpful, especially when you're taking on something you don't know, is you take it on in such a way that it's this habit that becomes secondary. If you're a smoker, you can tell the smoker who's been a smoker for a long time that this just becomes
right. And I thought I thought I would just have that since I'd smoked for years and I was playing a character that smoked. I thought I would just deliver my lines and listen and stuff like that.
Because when you walk through life, this just is, the cigarette is or the hat or the glasses or whatever are just an extension of who you are. It just has something in you. When I was really smoking, I didn't know that I was smoking 2.5 packs a day. It was something that was just kind of happening around me, involuntary almost. Okay.
Yeah, right.
And once you get on stage, if you haven't been on stage a lot, when you first start out, everything you do is very, very apparent. Every little movement you make, every time you blink, every time you smile, you know you're about to smile. You smile.
You're focusing on all that. You're using a processing power in your brain.
Right.
Basically.
So when you put the cigarette in your hand, you're thinking about whether or not you look right with a cigarette. So because you're thinking about whether you look right with a cigarette, you don't. Right? So, the way you walk across, you can see an actor who walks across the stage, it looks really stiff. He's thinking about, I'm walking across the stage. I'm walking across the stage. People are watching how I walk across the stage.
Okay.
So it becomes, but that's a practice. That's like anything else. Like the practice of habits. It is a practice of being on stage enough to be as comfortable there within your own skin as you are at a restaurant with your friends or at home in front of the television. And that doesn't completely go away because you still need to access the processing power that says, at this point is when I pick up the cigarette.
Right, and be in the moment. But you've got to have that memorized to the point where it's like you don't have to think about it or figure out what comes next. You just know what comes next and you go through the
And I'm not saying that I'm great at it. No, I don't think any actor can say they're great at that at all. But it is a thing that you have to literally, it's a very thin membrane between knowing that you're doing it and knowing you're doing it on cue and being that you're just doing it.
Yeah. Well, the director should have told me not to do it, I think. I think it was a distraction.
Isn't it cute that he's trying that?
It was a distraction to the audience because, literally, like, I would take one drag and then it would burn all the way down to my finger until I'm like, ow! Oh, that's over. That's done. I better put that out and light up another one.
But even that's kind of interesting. I used to be fascinated by smokers who did that.
Well, just little old ladies in the bar. Sit there with the cigarette and as it burned down into an ash.
And then we just talk. And there's one lady in a bar I used to go to. She'd talk with a cigarette. She'd take one puff, and then she'd talk and talk. And the thing got longer and longer. She'd talk, and she talked with her hands a lot. So by the end of it, she's got this much ash and this much filter. And you're thinking, how did it not fall off so far that she's still doing that? That's a fascinating thing to watch itself. So that actually maybe is why he didn't stop you, because that in itself was kind of fascinating to watch.
And it distracted people from my bad acting. So that probably actually worked to my advantage. That's probably said, smoke more. No, smoke at every scene. People would just watch the ash form and see you burn your fingers.
Yeah.
Sort of thing like that.
So
we
the
were gonna
moral
talk
of
about
this whole
habits.
story is that you should take up smoking as quickly as possible.
And really
this
practice
is being
it
brought to
a
you
lot.
by the tobacco industry.
Right, that's right. That's right. Help support the dying tobacco industry. Support the American tobacco farmer.
Right. Well, okay. Well, we can probably talk about this pretty quickly about the idea of success and habits around success, because I think my story did really speak to that. I mean, it's like I wanted to be successful in this place, so I had to create a habit, and I had a purpose behind it. There was, if I do this, I'll create this, which will give me success there. And then when I quit smoking 20 years later, we wanted to have kids, and we always said we're going to quit when my wife gets pregnant. Well, she wasn't getting pregnant, okay? And so we had a reason to keep on smoking. It was good, and it was a way for us to forget about and just, we're going to keep killing ourselves because we ain't getting pregnant, okay?
So do you want to just keep talking about smoking? Or
No,
do you
but
want to talk about like
the habit was,
habits?
once again, I think, I'm trying to transition
Okay, well, we're
you.
still opening up. This is still a show.
You're the one who kept it going, mister, so don't even start. The transition is, I had a purpose behind quitting. And because I had a purpose and a reason to do it, I created a habit to finish, to be done and never go back. And I didn't wean myself off. I quit.
Yeah, cold turkey.
Mm-hmm. And I was doing 3.5 packs a day. Mm-hmm. So that, no matter what kind of success you want to create, and that's smoking, you want to create successful day to day, right?
I'm imagining you on day 3 of not smoking, and you're
I was a jerk.
Well,
my wife gave me back.
I'm not smoking with my time. Maybe I should get a job. I mean, 3 packs a day. How do you do anything else but smoke?
No, I did a lot of things while I smoked.
That's pretty amazing.
I just always had a cigarette.
It's always in your hand, in your mouth. Oh, burnt that. Oh, throw that.
I'm starting to think that he's judging me about the cigarette smoking.
Or
thing.
that I'm avoiding talking about this. I'm not really ready to talk about this topic of habits, so I'll just keep you going about this. Okay, so here it is in a nutshell, and it's really fairly. It's elegant.
And we have that's all the time we have with the Bill and Jason.
Man.
Go ahead.
Well, maybe
give me
next week we'll talk about it.
Come on.
So in a nutshell, this is kind of something that arose out of my own self-realization.
Okay.
Is that I began to recognize, I thought I was in conversation of I hate routines. I don't want to be in a routine.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to do routines because that's not me. I don't care, blah, blah, blah.
I wouldn't do the same thing every day.
Right. And then when I actually started to look at it, I was never satisfied with that. I was producing the results that I wanted. You know, never satisfied. It was like nothing never seemed to grow like I wanted it to. Nothing ever seemed to. It all seemed fits and starts, and I seemed like I was working hard, but it was like nothing ever started to consistently happen. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I started really looking at what are my routines? I have routines. And when I looked, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do have routines. There are things I just do the same way. Like when we talked in another episode about talking on the phone for 4 hours a day.
Right.
That was a routine.
Right.
It didn't produce any results in terms of growing my business. I mean, other than our exchanging great ideas that I was never going to do because I had no time because we were talking so much.
You did a big waste of time.
But it wasn't a waste of time. It was great fun. But the point is that there were things that I routinely did and didn't do throughout my day. So then it got me thinking what if I started to take on one at a time, discover actions that actually do produce business, that if done week after week will actually bring it in consistently. So it's always showing up. Right. And so about a year ago, I took on I'm going to start looking for those actions that I can do every single week that brings in business on a regular basis. So I don't have to think about it. Right. So as an entrepreneur, I can literally clock in at 9, do the stuff I always do, clock out at 5, and know at the end of the week, there's going to be business coming in. There's going to be people signing on. There's going to be people to invoice. I am going to be in the business of doing routine.
Those are the systems and procedures. That
I got to find something. I got to find a client. I got to find a gig.
Right. The systems and procedures that a lot of businesses have in place that those of us that are working in a creative world don't.
Well, that's organizational habits.
Yeah.
That's an organization that has business acquisition habits, and you go to work there and they train.
Well, but even that one
habits.
thing, if that one thing is every week on Thursday, I'm going to have lunch with a new colleague,
right?
Because that colleague's going to bring me in new business.
Yes,
that still is part of those systems and procedures.
Yeah. So to make this tangible, to give an example of this, right? So in my coaching business, the best thing that really brings about new one-on-one coaching clients for me is having one-on-one meetings with people so I can get to know them. And also so that, and sometimes we coach about things, or sometimes we just kind of share and things like that. And, you know, what comes out of those conversations is they start seeing something like, wow, this is great. I think I might want to coach on something. Well, great. Well, let's explore that, right? Or it doesn't. It kind of goes, you know, either way. Or it's like, let me introduce you to somebody. Or, you know, new exciting things always happen every time I get to notice somebody, what their interests are and how that I can help them move that forward. So I have realized that my habit of meeting somebody, I participate in BNI, Business Networking International. And so if I have a one-to-one with someone who's in my close network, which is people that I'm getting deep relationships with, really know and trust really well, and then secondary networking, which could be another chapter or another networking group or things like that, and I meet somebody from them every week. So a minimum of 2 people a week that I sit down and have a one-to-one with, that I will have a steady stream of people signing on to my coaching programs. And that's exactly what's been happening. And so now that it's routine, it's not a big deal, because I start Monday and go, okay, do I have my 2 appointments? And usually I have like 3 or 4, you know, so I'm crushing that one. So I get out of the worry of like, but what am I going to do when this runs out, or when that project's done, or, oh my gosh, this client's completing, I have to find a new one. In fact, I have a client completing right now. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's great for them. They're done with coaching. They've gotten what they want. They've really moved the needle on some really big things. And now they're ready to like just move on their own for a while. Because coaching is not a codependent thing. It's like you're there to accomplish something, and then once it's accomplished, you can move on or pick something new.
Another something to be accomplished.
It's up to the client. But it's not like, oh my gosh, I panicked. Like I got to get busy finding business now. It's like putting that all into routines.
Yeah,
and that allows you to expand.
My biggest habit when it came to my DJ company and my MC and master of ceremonies and announcing and things like that was the same sort of thing. But mine was having connections with them 3 and 4 times a year, and it wasn't. And me, it was like, I could advertise in a big magazine, but I'm not a big company. I'm just me. I only have a certain amount of days I can work anyway. So money-wise really wasn't helpful to me, because I was kind of scattergunning around whether or not people are going to see what I have to offer. Mine became what's going to get me business, and the regular habit is that I have a lot of people that I've touched over my career, a lot of clients, a lot of people in the wedding business itself, a lot of vendors, a lot of people who know me. So I've got a system where I can literally get them, reach out to them 4 times a year specifically, and then at least once or twice a year, I'm taking them out to lunch. Okay, so that I want those people continually who said, "Oh, man, what you did for me at my wedding was the greatest thing ever. I love you so much. I'm going to tell everybody about it." But you know, they're going to tell people about it for a couple of weeks, and then their life's going to go on. It's not because they don't like me. Not because 10 years later they don't still think I'm great. It's because I didn't reach out. So if I 6 months later, hey, you know, how you doing? I send them a card, or a little email, or I say hello on Facebook, or I invite them to lunch or whatever. And I've done that consistently over the last 15, 18 years, so that these people are literally a sales force. Because if you think about it, every one of the people that I know are going to come across at least one person that year that's getting married or having a party. And when they do, they should be able to say, hey, I know Bill. You should talk to Bill. It's the same thing that great mechanics that don't have to advertise do. A great mechanic always knows that your card is in his card is in your wallet, so that when you hear, "Hey, my car broke down the other day. Do you know any good mechanics?" Absolutely, actually, I do. This is the only guy you should talk to, whether or not that's true or not. In his mind, he just said, and who doesn't want to hear that? You don't want to go to the Yellow Pages and say, well, they all say they're great, and let me pick one. You want to hear from somebody you know, that trusts, that had a great experience, that says, this guy's great, and you say immediately, I agree. So my habit is that regular, constant contact with those people, and there's lots of ways to do it. I've chosen a couple of them. Me telling you how I do mine doesn't help. It's like there's so many.
Well, it's like,
you
look for you,
right?
Know?
And it's not the thing that works. The thing is that you actually do it. No, it's not. Not even that. Find the thing that you want to use. They all work. Every last one. The ones that don't work are the ones that I bought it, I did it once, and why isn't it coming in?
Well, that's
You
the
gotta
third thing, though. So
continually
it's
boom,
like,
boom, boom, boom,
so
boom. That's
right,
the
so
habit.
You choose something, you do it, and then you measure it. Like, is this doing what I want it to do? Like, is it starting to see it roll and happen? And then you want to like, okay, so shed those new actions.
But without that,
and then try another action, and then try to zero in on the 2 or 3 things that really are the most effective for you.
But once you find it, then you have to. There
and
has
then make
to be
that
the
routine.
habit.
So it's like every week, how does this show up as a routine that I routinely do? Not when I need business or not when I have time, but something you routinely is just part of. It's like this has got to be in the schedule.
And for me, that works to be able to bring in customers. And for other people, having a mail campaign. For other people, it's having a regular ad and all the things. It's whatever that habit is. If you're doing it always, consistently, exactly, every day, every time, you do have success.
Yeah.
So pick something and stick to it.
Yep. Easy to think, to talk about, to intellectually get, and challenging to incorporate.
And if you made it to the end of the show,
right, you get a
was the
star.
Thanks for checking us out, and thanks for making this show a habit. I mean, this weekly thing, we really appreciate it. Tell us what you think down in about your habits and your business habits, your life habits, down in the comments below. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and tell more people to make this show a habit. Okay, we are better than cigarettes. I promise you. It's the Bill and Jason Show. We'll see you next time.
Is this show still going on?
I
don't know. Broadcasting from high atop planet Earth at a rate of 96 kilobytes sampled per second over the interweb in an effort to stop glorifying being busy. This has been an entertainment experience production.